Everyone thinks fairy circles are random. They're not, and the creatures making them have been invisible for centuries. Across the Namib Desert in southwestern Africa, something extraordinary happens beneath the sand that no human eye ever witnessed for thousands of years. Millions upon millions of nearly perfect circles appear, scattered like some vast and deliberate pattern across the golden dunes, each one a gap in the grass where nothing grows, each one precise, each one waiting. The locals knew these rings existed, of course. They'd walked among them, stepped over them, built their lives around them. But the true architects of this landscape remained unknown, working in the darkness and silence of soil, their labor both invisible and relentless. For generations, people offered explanations that seemed reasonable at the time. Some said the circles were caused by underground springs, or toxic soil, or perhaps the work of ancient peoples. Others suggested lightning strikes or meteorites, each theory more dramatic than the last. But nobody truly knew, and that gap between observation and understanding would persist for centuries, stretching across decades of the modern era, with fairy circles remaining one of nature's quietest mysteries. Then, in the early 2000s, something shifted. Scientists began arriving in the Namib with new tools, new patience, and new questions. They measured the circles with precision, counted them across vast territories, and started to notice patterns that human intuition alone could never have detected. The rings weren't random at all. They were distributed with an almost mathematical regularity, as if governed by some hidden law of nature. What the researchers didn't yet know, as they compiled their data in those early years of investigation, was that they were about to uncover one of the desert's most elegant secrets. The answer lay not in the soil or the sky, but in the smallest creatures that inhabited that harsh landscape: termites, working in vast cooperative networks, invisible architects reshaping their world one grain at a time. The termites of the Namib aren't like most insects you might encounter. They live in underground colonies that can stretch for meters in all directions, and they consume vegetation with a hunger that shapes the landscape itself. What makes their work truly remarkable is how they do it not chaotically, but with an organization so sophisticated that it appears almost intentional, almost planned. In the spaces where termite colonies thrive, they consume all the vegetation down to bare soil, creating zones of complete barrenness. But around these central zones, something unexpected happens. A ring of grass actually grows more densely than it does elsewhere in the desert. This is where the real elegance emerges, the moment when the pattern begins to make sense. The termites, by clearing vegetation from the center, actually create a more efficient water-catching system. When the rare rains come to the Namib, and they come very rarely indeed, the bare soil becomes a sort of shallow basin that captures moisture. This water then seeps outward, nourishing the ring of grass that surrounds the barren center, giving it an advantage that other grass plants simply cannot access. It's a perfect system, really, a kind of cooperation between insect and plant that neither party consciously planned, yet both benefit from profoundly. The termites get a protected area free from competition. The grass gets access to water it wouldn't otherwise find. And the desert, that harsh and seemingly chaotic place, reveals itself to be ordered by principles as elegant as any human architecture. But here's where the story deepens, where it becomes even more remarkable than a simple explanation of water and insects. The spacing of these circles, the way they're distributed across the landscape, that regularity the scientists noticed, it follows patterns that suggest something beyond mere chance or simple cause and effect. The circles seem to maintain a minimum distance from one another, as if the termite colonies are somehow aware of each other's presence, as if they're negotiating space without ever meeting. This self-organization, this emergent order arising from simple local rules, suggests a complexity in the insect world that we're only beginning to understand. What makes this story so perfect for quiet contemplation is how it challenges our assumptions about nature. We think of deserts as empty, lifeless places where nothing of note happens. We imagine them as wastelands, when in fact they're landscapes of extraordinary sophistication, where millions of tiny creatures are constantly reshaping their world, creating order from what appears to be chaos. The fairy circles of the Namib remind us that the most profound mysteries often hide in plain sight, visible to anyone who walks across that landscape. Yet their true nature remaining concealed until we develop the patience to look closely, to ask questions, and to listen to what the natural world is trying to tell us. Scientists continue to study these circles today, and each new discovery adds another layer to the story. Some research suggests that the patterns might also be influenced by competition between different plant species, and by the way water moves through soil in ways we're still learning to model and understand. What began as a simple observation, rings of grass in the desert, has become a window into the hidden architecture of ecosystems, into how tiny creatures and vast landscapes communicate through mechanisms we're only now beginning to decipher. It's a reminder that mystery and wonder are never truly absent from our world. Sometimes we just need to look more carefully. The Namib Desert continues to spin its circles, season after season, rain after rare rain. Millions of tiny architects work invisibly beneath the sand, creating patterns that took humanity centuries to truly see. And in that patient, silent labor, there's something deeply soothing to contemplate, the knowledge that even in the harshest places on Earth, life finds ways not just to survive, but to create beauty and order. As you drift toward sleep tonight, imagine walking through that vast expanse of golden sand, surrounded by millions of these perfect circles stretching to the horizon. Imagine the termites beneath your feet, working their quiet work, reshaping their world with infinite patience. Imagine the rains that come so rarely, and the grass that celebrates them by growing in these precise and beautiful rings. There's something profoundly restful in knowing that the world continues to hold mysteries, that even in places we think we understand, nature is still teaching us lessons about order and cooperation and the hidden intelligence embedded in the smallest creatures. The fairy circles will be there tomorrow, and the next day, and the next, waiting patiently for us to understand them more deeply. Subscribe so you can explore more unsolved mysteries of the natural world, one peaceful story at a time.